Coming up on Smart Tech today, Matthew Cassinelli and I talk about losing your AirPods. That's right. How about 33 times? Ridiculous. As well as getting Samuel L. Jackson on your Echo and a project that Matthew does that maybe didn't have to be as complicated as it was. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform that scales as you grow. Get started today for free with a free $50 credit at do.co/twit. And by FreshBooks, the #1 accounting software in the cloud for self-employed professionals and their teams. Make the running of your business simple and efficient with FreshBooks. Try it free for 30 days at freshbooks.com/STT. Welcome to Smart Tech Today, where we explain the exciting, dynamic, and, well, sometimes confusing and frustrating subject that is the Internet of Things. I'm Samuel L. Jackson. Mikah Sargent.
And I'm Matthew Cassinelli.
AKA Gordon Ramsay, the other person who I think is available for celebrity voices on the Echo. We're going to get to that. So if you tuned in ahead of the show, before the show began, you're here with us live, then you saw that even amongst those of us who consider ourselves consummate professionals in the world of smart tech, we have issues too. We run into the problems just as much as everyone else does. And, that can be kind of, for me, when I see, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that makes sense, because I was going to go like a basketball player who misses a shot, but I don't watch basketball. When I see a professional chef slice off their finger, I go, it can happen to them too.
You're just calling me out. I was definitely messing up with the Amazon Echo. I don't think I've ever pushed the buttons on the top, so I was trying to not trigger it for everybody else. Well,
and Matthew, let me tell you something that I tell every single person that I help with technology who blames themselves in these situations. It's not your fault.
It's me.
It's not your fault.
It's me, Mikah.
It isn't you.
No, it's the assistant.
You're beautiful, amazing, and intelligent, and it's not your fault.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. I feel so much better.
I hope that you recorded that and you just play that back in the morning when you're feeling, you're ready for your day to get started. All of those folks out there who need that, you have my permission to clip it and use it.
I'll make a shortcut out of it.
It's called my morning, what is that called? A morning mantra?
I know. Yeah.
Morning mantra with Mikah. You're beautiful. You're amazing. Yeah. You're intelligent. And you're going to take on the world today.
You will succeed at the smart home. You can do it. We will get them connected finally one day.
Repeat after me. Press the button. You've done it. Okay. Let's get into the swing of things. I guess swing and things both need to be more than one syllable. With kind of a funny story. Here's the deal. This is completely and utterly, it's called SEO gaming on our part. Because I guarantee you, the moment we talk about this story and I include any metadata tags in this show that involve this story, we're going to get 1,000 K-pop fans descending upon us to share their thoughts, their opinions, and most importantly, to share how both of us are going to butcher the name of this K-pop rapper.
Oh, yeah. Well, go ahead. You can say it.
So here we go. There was a story recently out that a K-pop star by the name of Namjoon, that's Namjoon, has, this is that very popular K-pop band. Are they called a band? Are they called a group? BTS.
BTS, yeah.
Yeah, BTS. I know. And they were doing a stream, a question and answer stream over the weekend. And he says, by the way, I'm on my 34th pair of AirPods. So Namjoon keeps losing AirPods over and over and over and over again and is now on their 34th pair of AirPods.
The article says it's the equivalent price of the base of a Mac Pro. So
God, that's like $6,000.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Now, do you think this is true? Do you think really, 34 is a very specific number, and that's what leads me to believe that he wasn't lying. But also, I will throw out random numbers. I'm like, yeah, this is like the 27th time I've done this.
I can see it if he's the star of the biggest K-pop band in the world, he's probably got enough money to drop $6,000 on AirPods over 3 years. How long has it been out?
Yeah, something like 3 years. That's the other problem, I think, is that it's kind of a bad look because these are the devices that are kind of in the spotlight right now for not being very recyclable, environmentally friendly, et cetera, et cetera. The number of people who I've heard sort of repeat the phrase, they don't have a removable battery or replaceable battery is grows every day. I hear that repeated. And so I think that it's kind of a bad look to come out with. I keep losing these all over the place and making a mess. And now I'm on pair 34 and it doesn't hurt financially at all.
Well, he's like recycling them to the community. As a bunch of 34 people have found his AirPods.
That's true. Yeah. Anyone
they could
who
still
needs
be
an
in
extra
use, you know?
one. Yeah. So if you have like a left or right that goes down, then you can get one of these. I'm looking up. There was recently a story. You might have seen this come by. There was a basketball player who gifted his basketball player friends a pair of AirPods Pro.
I don't. No, I missed that one. But.
Oh man, Mark Gurman. That's his name, not Matt Gurman. That's you, Matthew. He was tweeting about it. So I'm going to find this story. This was not originally in in our spreadsheet. So that's how you know that this is not a pre-scripted show and that indeed we are doing it live. Let me find it here.
I almost lost my own AirPods this morning. I was like looking around for them and got so deep into the couch I scraped my hand up. So that was my dedication to not being one who buys 34 pairs of AirPods. Although I was slightly doing back of the napkin math on how much I've spent on AirPods if I bought all 3 models, and I'm not happy about that now.
This is the future millennials want. Scraping our hands on couches to be environmentally friendly. Doing damage to our own selves in the interest of being environmentally friendly. Unfortunately, I don't see the piece, but there was a basketball player. Thank you. Yes. Bleak in the chat, constantly my hero. There goes my hero. Dwight Howard gifted the Lakers sets of AirPods Pro. So they went in and on their on each player's seat was a pair of AirPods Pro. I wonder how many people are
very Oprah.
It is very Oprah. You get AirPods Pro and you get AirPods Pro. And I wonder how many people would be, or how many people there are that got those, and we could, do the math on how much money Dwight Howard.
I'm sure he can also afford it.
Oh yeah, no problem. Dwight Howard, if you want to get in touch, I don't need AirPods Pro, but I've got a lot of family members who would like them. So anyway, we thought we'd start out with the AirPods and AirPods Pro story. It is unclear if Namjoon uses AirPods Pro at this point or continues to use the first model of AirPods, but the photo shows him very happily wearing
the old ones.
AirPods.
Ooh,
and by golly, they fit so well in his ears. Did you notice that?
Mine are falling out now. I had to switch the tips this morning actually because it almost fell into the heater in my house. Oh, so I was I swatted it out of the way at the last second and then went and got it.
I was bathing my dogs the other day and I almost lost one into the water, and I thought, okay, time to upsize. Because I recommend to anyone out there who gets AirPods, Apple has a little test that you can do where you sort of it plays music and it determines if you have a good fit. Well,
it plays Tycho.
It plays Tycho. Yeah. Tycho's
He's like
my
a
favorite.
SF psychedelic type. I don't know, more electronic, but
I can name 3 albums. There's Tycho's Gun Runner, was the first album. Tycho in Space was the
Micah,
second album.
if you live in the Bay Area now, you have to learn Tycho.
And Tycho's third album
he's from SF.
is called Hella. And
No.
and then he's working on Rochambeau. Anyway, so what I was going to say was I recommend that if you're going to use them, the test basically determines if the space in your ears is big enough, if the spacing of the little pads is big enough inside of your ear, the tip. So it's not as if it will be able to determine if the large size is not a good fit in comparison to the medium size. So when you buy them, they come with the medium size tips on them. I suggest that when you get them, you switch to the small size first, you put those in your ears, see if the thing registers a good fit, and then go up to the medium. And then if it's still not a good fit, then go up to the large, as opposed to going from medium to large and skipping the small, because you may be able to get them to go farther into your ear if you would actually have a better fit with the small or the medium.
Yeah.
So
I feel like my ears have expanded since I've gotten them. And slowly got
well, maybe
like they were, because they kind of hurt at first and then now they're like loose. So
oh no, that's not good. This slowly but surely,
in hundreds of years, our ears will form around the AirPods.
In hundreds of years, we'll have ear holes as big as our eye holes.
Okay.
Or as big as our mouth holes. And that's really scary. That's not how evolution works, folks. So let's go ahead and move on to the next story. ADT, you ever heard of them?
You said this to me earlier, and I was like, "What?"
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's the security brand with it's like the blue stop sign. I think it is.
I love
their logo or hectagon. I don't know.
I love that you. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's an octagon.
Yeah, there it is.
So the Blue Octagon, ADT Security Services, has existed for quite a while. In fact, it was founded in 1874. Didn't know it's been around that long, but it's one of those that you've certainly probably heard about. There's like, the particularly wealthy aunt in your family, or maybe you yourselves, your parents were the wealthy folks, or you yourself might be. Usually it was people who had a little bit more money to be able to afford this because they were constantly price gouging the heck out of people. You signed up for ADT and then you had to do it through a contract, and you spent a bunch of money on a security system that you ended up not using in the end because you forgot the passcode, or you didn't want to deal with the beeping of the door every time it opened and closed and didn't know how to turn it off. And I may be talking about a very specific situation.
Yeah, I wonder where this came from.
Where they never used the security system and they never turned off the beeping sound that happened when you opened and closed the door. And I just wanted to sit them down and teach them and say, here's how this works. Anyway, but it was notorious for being worse than trying to cancel cable, which is like if you know what it's like trying to cancel a cable package, this was worse than canceling a cable package. So there's your introduction to ADT, the Blue Octagon. They are apparently they are working on a smart doorbell, and it is going to work with Apple's HomeKit platform, which is fascinating to me that ADT, the security system that sort of installed this proprietary alarm system that was hard to use, hard to figure out, and sort of made their money off of these contracts. They're doing this instead. And I'm curious, my biggest thing here is I want to know what their business plan is for this. Are they just going to be like, hey, we're making a doorbell camera and you know us, we're ADT, we're the Blue Octagon, so we're good at security, now you can buy this? Or are you going to have to sign a contract and they just offer this as part of a security package? That's what's fascinating to me and what I'm sort of paying attention to going forward. But all we have to go on is a regulatory filing, which I do want to note is not a patent application, and is therefore a little bit better of a look at, what is being announced.
Hold on. Sorry, my connection is dropping for a moment.
Oh.
It seems like Ring has promised HomeKit and hasn't actually delivered it too. And then there's a lot of like Nest home doorbell stuff out there, but nothing with HomeKit yet that's like natively supported. So it is interesting, especially looks like they have some video doorbell camera stuff right now, but not with any type of like assistant support. So yeah, it is like, I wonder if they're branching out.
Well, and don't even get me started. The first company that ever announced, oh God, I'm getting myself started. The first company that ever announced support for their video doorbell having HomeKit support, that was a weird way to put that, was August, the August Smart Lock company. And I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited, and they never added support. And that is, I think that's because, so one of the requirements I've done super deep dives into Apple's requirements for offering the little tag on the side of the box that says works with Apple HomeKit, is that it is usable, and like there's a stipulation essentially that it has to work reliably in comparison to some of the things that don't work reliably. And I have to say, the August doorbell camera, 4 out of 7 times when I would open the app and look at the doorbell camera, there would be a video feed issue or something like that. It would always have issues with actually turning on, showing me what the camera was seeing or not showing me what the camera was seeing. And so I could see that they wanted to add that support, but they could never give Apple what it requires in terms of usability and workability. And that's a big issue.
That's a shame. And that seems to be a common thread. It's at least with the waiting for HomeKit support. So I feel like, I guess I don't think I've said this on the show, but I'm probably actually going to CES. So maybe I'll get to see some of these in person.
Cool. Now, do you have any either video doorbell or normal doorbell? Do you have any dough bells?
I do not.
Have you made any bells of dough?
We can't do the lock thing on at least like a security lock entirely through the front door because we have a pretty old door. But we're thinking about getting a whole security system, so it kind of just depends. I don't know if we'd need the doorbell as much as like just a front porch cam.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am now, that, the August does not work how I want it to. And for folks out there, I hands down 1,000% go all in on Logitech's Circle cameras. There are waterproof, or I should say weatherproof versions that are for outdoors, and then there's the indoor versions of those. I think they now sell them in like 2-packs and 3-packs. It is the most stable connection, the best view I've ever seen, fantastic infrared lighting, and the whole kit and caboodle. And most importantly, if you are in a HomeKit home like I am, it offers HomeKit Secure Video, which comes with its own heaping helping of privacy and cost savings, which is great. But if you have the whole network sort of set up that way, then you can have one outside, you can have one inside, you can have them wherever you want to, and they all sort of work together quite well. So if you're thinking about doing maybe a smart lock combo with a doorbell camera, not with a doorbell camera, but with a camera outside, that's a great way to do it, because there are special features within the setup that allow you to sort of, if there is motion detected at the front door, then show me what I can, what's being seen there, or even when my smart lock unlocks, then show me what's being, what can be seen at the front door. So there are all those little system settings that can kind of help you create that smart home setup and that make it very nice. So,
well, I put stuff similar to this on my Christmas list, so we'll see if Santa comes through on the security front. I mean,
slip a smart.
It's like he can't even break in because the security. I can get Santa on camera.
Oh, you can? Oh my goodness, no! Actually, I think Santa's a vampire, so you wouldn't be able to get Santa on camera.
I don't know where you were raised, but.
Oh Oh my God, I have to save that quote. I don't know where.
Don't tell your parents. Oh God.
Oh, that was fantastic. I love it. We got to move on to the next topic. I don't know where you were raised. I was raised in the Midwest. Don't mess around. We're all very nice there.
My connection is dropping right now.
Okay, well, while I go to ad, why don't you take care of that, and we'll come back from the break, and hopefully you'll be better. Cool. Alrighty, folks. I am excited to say that this episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform. It's optimized to make managing and scaling apps very easy with an intuitive API, multiple storage options, integrated firewalls, load balancers, those are important, and so much more. And in fact, DigitalOcean is trusted by over 1 million developers. They make it simple to launch in the cloud and scale up as you grow. So whether you're running one virtual machine or 10,000, they've got you covered. You can spin up a virtual machine in just 60 seconds or less. You can use standard, general purpose, or CPU-optimized configurations, which of course provide flexibility to build, test, and grow your application however you need to. Now, DigitalOcean has over 2,000 open source tutorials to help you stay up to date on the latest open source software, languages, and frameworks. So you're not just going and getting the subscription set up to use it for creating apps and services, but you get to go in and actually learn stuff too. So along with maybe you're going in, you're wanting to create several virtual machines, you're working on an app or something like that. And then you realize, you know what? I want to use my account to do some other stuff that I've never played around with before. Well, there are plenty of tutorials to help you get started with that, which can be kind of fun. You can modernize your cloud infrastructure fast with DigitalOcean's Marketplace, which is, of course, a diverse catalog of over 100 pre-configured one-click apps. So you don't have to go in and do a bunch of configuration before. You just say, oh, yeah, I want that. And that includes Cloud Bees. Yes, I said bees, Docker, GitLab, Node.js, which, as we have talked about before, is the backing for the Homebridge platform, Ruby on Rails, LAMP, and many more. Now, DigitalOcean offers simple, predictable pricing, so you always know what you'll pay per month with a flat, industry-leading pricing structure. If you've ever talked to anybody who's set up virtual machines or used these different cloud platforms, then you know that pricing is a big concern. To know, oh no, I've got a bunch of people who just heard about this new service that I created, and suddenly the price is just spinning out of control. Well, no, with DigitalOcean, it keeps it simple and predictable. And also you get, with no additional cost, 24/7, 365 world-class support, monitoring and alerts, 99.99% uptime SLA, team accounts, full DNS management, and they've got 12 global data centers. DigitalOcean is on a mission to simplify cloud computing so developers and their teams can spend more time building software that changes the world. Go to do.co/twit today to sign up and receive a free $50 credit. That's do.co/twit for a free $50 credit. DigitalOcean, designed for developers, built for businesses. Thanks so much to DigitalOcean for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today. And I think we're back in business.
Yes, hello.
Hello, you spun up a few virtual machines and now you're ready to rock and roll.
Basically, yes. I plugged in my internet properly.
This is where we reveal that Matthew Cassinelli also has a completely virtual AI version of himself and requires multiple. I
had to reboot.
Yeah, you had to reboot a couple of those servers to get you up and running. But you're back in business. You're here with us, and we are ready to talk about Samuel L. Jackson.
Sam, what's the weather today? Sam, what's the weather today? Oh, God. It's happening again.
In Berkeley, it's
okay, wait.
degrees.
I think you have to say, ask Sam.
Ask Sam the weather.
In Berkeley, it's 55 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and sun. Tonight, you can look for just a few clouds in the sky with a low of 41 degrees.
Nice.
So if you're wondering what the heck is going on, Amazon announced at its recent Amazon event that it was going to start offering celebrity voices. Essentially, with these voices, it replaces your main Alexa with a procedurally generated. I don't know exactly what the right word is there. They had a term for this, but Samuel L. Jackson went in and recorded a bunch of sentences and phrases and some jokes and things like that. And then using that, they were actually able to, using machine learning and artificial intelligence, to recreate his voice as a digital version, which allows him, in theory, to answer your questions and give you the weather and help you with music and all these kinds of things, where it's not actually that he had to go in and say every single phrase, but they can cut out the little bits and pieces of the things that he says and make them into what it is that you want. And it sounds fairly natural. I think there was one time where the pacing sounded a little off when I had asked a question of him. But aside from that, it sounds a lot like Samuel L. Jackson, which I think is kind of fun. The interesting thing is that while they're rolling out, Samuel L. Jackson is the first one, and while they're rolling out these celebrity voices, they're 99 cents for now, but the price will go up to $4.99, which is pretty pricey. I personally think they should leave it at the 99 cents, but alas, they are not. But
if it was David Attenborough for $5,
ooh.
Yeah, it's
see,
like,
I guess,
who's got a better voice than the other person? That's the question.
And I gotta say, if Beyonce did this, I would spend $5 to have Beyonce tell me the weather. She never would, but yeah, I would definitely spend $5 to have Beyonce tell me the weather. There are a few people out there who I would happily let them tell me the weather. Amazon, if you'd like me to offer up my voice, I could do that for you. No, I kid. Now, you, interestingly, we will include this link in the show notes, but there is a way to sort of kind of get the Samuel L. Jackson voice for free while it's 99 cents. And that's because of Amazon's deals that they roll out to try and save a little bit of money on shipping. So there are a couple of ways to do this, but one is using your Amazon shipping day. And when you do that, Amazon will give you a $1 credit for your digital purchases that you might make from Amazon. So music or books or things like that. And that, of course, includes the Samuel L. Jackson voice for Amazon. And then you can get it for free and turn it on. And there's an explicit version and a non-explicit version. That was the non-explicit version. Yes. I was using the explicit version at home, and it was explicit and kind of funny. But yeah,
you can use your imagination if you've ever seen any of his movies.
Right. If you've ever seen Samuel L. Jackson say anything at all, then you know how that might sound. So yeah, that was pretty fun. But I don't know.
I'm very curious because they did a Super Bowl ad for this. Mm-hmm. In January of last year. So this has been around the idea. And I'm curious if they actually if that was when they started testing this, or if that was just like a joke commercial. And then they're like, let's actually do that. Because that's pretty awesome. I mean, they had it was all, they've got Rebel Wilson and stuff like that doing it last year. So I was surprised that this took, I thought this was already out, I guess, but originally.
I didn't know that Rebel Wilson was one of the folks that
might just be from the commercial.
Yeah, so it was at the Amazon event in September of this year that they announced officially that they were going to be doing celebrity voices. So this was at the event that included the frames, the Echo frames, the Echo Buds, the Amazon Smart Oven, and a few other things as well. And that is where they said, hey, we're going to be doing this. They'll start out at 99 cents and eventually will cost $4.99. And by the way, there is a code word that you can use to come across this that makes it much easier. We kind of had to do some major searching to come across it. But if you say, hey, boo-boo, introduce me to Samuel L. Jackson, then it will say, hey, would you like to pay the 99 cents? And then you can get Samuel L. Jackson added. I was trying to figure out if there was a place I could go to find all of the voices that Amazon has released, just to see if there was anything else that was there. But there's not sort of a category available, which is a little bit of a bummer, because there are some available from third parties, and there's like a Pikachu one that's made by the Pokemon company, but it's not like an Amazon sanctioned version. So I imagine it's not going to be as in depth as we have here. Oh, and you can also go to, if you don't want to do the, hey, boo-boo, introduce me to Samuel L. Jackson, you can go to amazon.com/ask-Sam. And, here's one, Matthew. Can you ask Sam how he got the part of Nick Fury?
Ask Sam how he got the part of Nick Fury.
I got the part of Nick Fury because I ended up in a comic book called The Ultimates, and they used my image, and I tried to find out why they did that, and they said because they wanted me to be in the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, like they literally made the comic being like, Samuel L. Jackson would be great for this, and then he became part of the movie because of that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, which is awesome.
One more. Ask him what his favorite drink is.
Ask Sam what his favorite drink is.
My favorite drink is ginger beer.
Yes, good choice,
Pretty
Sam.
good. I had that on Saturday. I figured out why I was messing this up earlier too. You have to press the button and let go and then say your thing, but I was holding it down like the HomePod.
Yeah.
Which you can do either on the HomePod and is confusing often because I think every time or even just like Siri in general, I remember trying to teach my mom and she would always hold it just long enough so that it would stop listening while she was saying something or it hadn't quite triggered it yet. So it was like in between. You got to like practice a tiny bit.
Yeah. That's Samuel L. Jackson. Amazon said they'd be working on more voices that will be released soon, but it's using Amazon's dynamic content platform to sort of procedurally generate responses that don't fall into those ones, which are just clips from an actual interview with him. So that is his real voice, not a
maybe I'll
version.
Do the explicit version and post it on my Twitter account.
Yeah, afterwards. There you go. If you want the baddies, then you can head to Matthew Cassinelli's Twitter account to see what he says when you turn off the explicit version. I, for one, don't want my, I don't know, I guess like a niece or a nephew coming in and saying, hey, what's the weather? Which I don't know how to do. Suddenly it's like, weather is this. Oh, God.
So I should, maybe I will turn it on for our house tonight and then just ask the weather later and see what reacts. She's going to hate it, but
she's going to hate it.
Just like, what the heck is going on?
So say I want a Google Nest Hub. How do I get one? For free. I want one for free. I don't just want one. I know how to find it that way. How do I get a Google Nest Hub for free?
If you sign up for Sling TV. So they're doing a promotion right now where basically you can get their orange channel lineup, which are even from the lowest channel lineup that they have, and then you can get a Nest Hub on, which is following an article that I think I had saved and we just like skipped over it one day of Sling TV works on the Nest Hub and Nest Hub Max. So basically you can't generally watch like too much TV on these, or at least not Netflix.
Right.
So that's pretty much, you can see where I watch most of my TV there, I guess. But this is nice just because you can use like the little kitchen TV going back to the old days kind of thing.
Oh, the kitchen TV. You know, my kitchen is still set up with a kitchen TV setup. There's a little cable spot where I could do in the cable, and then a little plug there in the corner of my kitchen. I have an Echo Show in that spot that does not have a coaxial port on the back of it. So, yeah. But yeah, if you're after a Google Nest Hub, folks say that the high definition display of the Google Nest Hub and its link up with the Google Photos service make it a fantastic in-home picture frame, digital picture frame. And then if you have Sling, which Sling has a lot of channels, then you get to pair those together and create a nice little device. So yeah, you could be watching, it'd be kind of fun. You are watching A Christmas Story while you're making holiday cookies in the kitchen.
Yeah, actually. I mean, that's perfect because we were just making holiday cookies yesterday, and I had said that we should like watch a movie or something on my iPad when we were doing it, but we just ended up not really. So that kind of thing would be nice.
If only you had the Google Nest Hub, but then you would have watched the movie.
I have the small one. I just don't have Sling. But I used Sling like 5 or 6 years ago when they first came out, because I used to work doing live tweets for television shows, and we would watch a Sling TV that was in New York and tweet in real time when it was playing on the East Coast and stuff like that. I did like Fox TV shows. It was actually amazing.
Well, that's cool.
I think I might have already said this on the show. I feel like I did once, but
shows how
I sent like the first like non-client approved Simpsons tweet that was like not a quote from the movie, and it was very dramatic because they were like very scared that we would mess it up.
Wow.
I guess I was trustworthy enough.
Well, good for you, Simpsons. No, that's really cool. I didn't know that. Except if you said it, and then I'm sorry that I didn't.
That's fine.
Didn't quite put that.
I feel like it's hard to remember when you do a lot of podcasts. You end up forgetting what you said.
Yeah, that's
why you can re-listen to them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forget that. No, I'm kidding. Now, Google. So of course, Sling has, I think you said, has been on both the Hub and the Macs since November, and so it's a relatively new addition there. So it's kind of interesting that they've already got this deal available. But let's talk about interpreter mode, which is kind of a cool feature that we saw the Google Assistant show off at Google's event. Essentially, it takes it takes like Google Translate to the next level, where you can set the phone in between and sort of have a conversation back and forth, which is pretty cool. But it's coming to multiple devices, not just Google's own devices, but if you have the Assistant app for iOS, then it will also be available there. So you can say, "Hey, Boo-Boo, help me speak Thai," or "Hey, Boo-Boo, be my Spanish translator," and it will translate your speech and read it out loud. So I can say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And then it will automatically translate it into, it will transcribe my words, then translate them into the right language, and then read that language out loud. So even if the person who's across from you, or if you're talking to somebody, doesn't quite pick up what the phone has said, they can look at the phone and read what's on there. And one of the things I think is important here, one of the options that they show, this is a really big thing. People who are traveling, does this dish contain peanuts? I'm allergic to peanuts, is kind of something you don't want to fool around with. And the opportunity to say, okay, I need to ask this German server what this, whether this dish has peanuts, is pretty cool.
Okay, I've got it set up here, and let's do it live.
Okay.
I speak French. Is that good with you? Do you know any French?
No, except for that.
No.
No.
Okay, hold on. Let's turn on interpreter mode. I think it's freaking out on me. Maybe it's not fully baked yet.
It says you can say, "Be my French translator." Try that.
Be my French translator.
Sure, I'll be your interpreter.
Hello, how are you?
Salut, comment allez-vous?
Pretty good. Oh, wait, now it's just going to be tracking everything.
Yeah.
Mikah, what are you wearing? I don't know. Oh God, I'm going to cancel it. It's catching. I have this exact same problem making videos too, is I try to say out loud what I'm seeing as it's listening, and then it starts translating what I'm saying. And it's like, oh God, it takes a specific skill that apparently I don't have very well developed. But yeah, it seems, these are amazing. Like the commercial where you just walk up to somebody in a foreign country and you're like, "Please help, I don't know how to get there." And it just says it right to them. Like, this stuff is amazing because it just completely breaks down barriers. And I'm glad it's just on every single iPhone and Android phone now. So that's It's wild. Like, I feel like this story is like 3 paragraphs long on The Verge, and it's like, oh, just like a fundamental shift in human communication it rolled out, but that's cool, I guess.
It's in
like,
more than 1 billion pockets, y'all, which is awesome. Now, tell me about recorder mode, because that's a little bit different.
Well, that's what I was when I first read the story. I was confused because Google. The Pixel 4 has an auto transcription recorder app that I was just like, didn't we already see this earlier this year? But that is like if you have one of the Pixel phones, it can offline, not translate, I guess, but just like dictate what you were saying. And then you can copy and paste that out. So that's pretty interesting. There's tons of voice developments this year. Maybe I should recap it all.
Yeah.
It's seriously like
voice.
I feel like it is. There's so much that changed this year, but it's like seeing, I don't know, when it happens bit by bit, it doesn't seem like it's that huge, but there's so much more that was possible this year now than there was last year.
I agree. Well, before we go on to talk about an interesting project that Matthew has just worked very, 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 very hard on, and involves a lot of different moving parts and wires and features, I do want to tell you about our good pals and our long-standing buds over at FreshBooks. Of course, this episode today of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by FreshBooks. FreshBooks is an all-in-one small business invoicing and accounting solution that helps make running your business a breeze. You can automate your invoicing, which is always nice. We know a thing or two about automation, and always know at a glance just how much is outstanding and who has overdue invoices. You can make customizable invoices, so you get to add your logo. You can change the colors, the fonts, so much more. Plus, multi-language invoices are available. We were just talking about translation. It'd be nice that no matter where you need to send an invoice, you can count on it being in the right language. Also, accept credit cards. Trust me, as someone who has run an online store in the past, it is not easy making sure you have all of that set up properly and correctly. If FreshBooks takes care of that for you so you can accept credit cards, oh, it's so nice. Plus, send payment reminders and automate late fees if needed so you can make sure that you get paid when you're supposed to. You can also track your time and rest peacefully knowing how productive you've been thanks to the easy-to-read daily breakdowns you get with FreshBooks. You can bill for tracked hours, you can track time against clients or projects, and so much more. Plus, organize your expenses and say goodbye to faded, torn, virtually useless receipts and keep them perfectly preserved and organized in FreshBooks. You never have to lose another receipt. You simply snap a picture of it, log it, and let FreshBooks keep things organized for you in the cloud. Plus tax-friendly categories, and you can stay on budget with an easy-to-read summary of your spending by category. Plus, there's FreshBooks' mobile app, which makes following up with clients ridiculously easy. If there's anything you don't understand, they've got award-winning customer service via phone, email, and live chat. Of course, Matthew Cassinelli, you are a user of FreshBooks, and things are going well for you. Eh?
Yep. I've been slowly logging my purchases again, which is going well.
Nice. Well, you out there can end 2019 on a high note and hit the ground running in 2020 with FreshBooks. You just visit freshbooks.com/STT and enter Smart Tech Today in the How Did You Hear About Us section to receive 30 days free. That's freshbooks.com/STT and enter Smart Tech Today to receive 30 days free. Hey, folks out there listening, I just have to say, we've got these awesome sponsors here, and you, of course, out there are helping us out every time you head to those URLs and check out these different services. So be that freshbooks.com/STT or do.co/twit. That tells those sponsors that, hey, we're listening and we love the shows that they're putting out, and we want to check out the cool services that you're offering. So keep that in mind, and we thank you for checking out those services and, most importantly, using those URLs in particular. All right, Matthew, I have this thing, this desire to hear the cracks, the pops, the pure beauty that is a vinyl album and the listening experience. It's so much more real. It's so much more tactile. It's so much more beautiful. But maybe I don't want to listen to my vinyl albums on the 90-year-old speakers that come with the record player that I have. And I'd like to play the cracks and the pops throughout my entire house. And you seem to have come up with a way to do that. Yes?
Yes. Now you can, over the Christmas season, pull out a record player and listen to some tunes on your wireless speakers, thanks to this excessive setup that I built. That it might follow the common trend of smart home stuff, where it takes you a really long time to figure it out. You buy a bunch of extra gear, and then some part of it might not even be necessary at all, and there's a much simpler version of it.
Really?
So
is that something that happened in this case?
Yeah, that went down with me. So I was like, I have one of the most basic like Audio-Technica record players, and it has the like red and white analog coming out, and I was like, all right, I want to get this into my computer so I can listen to it on something like my HomePod or like on the various smart home assistant speakers that I have throughout the house. Like I have a Google Home in the kitchen and then Echo devices in the other rooms also. And I was like, all right, I'm determined to get this because it's analog audio. So I need some way to get that into a computer source. And then once it's there, I need to somehow get that to play wirelessly. And so I spent a long time trying to figure this out. I did my research and came up with one thing you need is a USB-B cord. So I think a lot of people don't actually have these. They're basically printer cables, but I think it's like USB-B is not super common, almost always for printer or audio devices. And then I had gone and found this USB Phono Plus, which is a digital audio converter. And this is like a fancy little like audio box. It's similar to what a lot of podcasters use for their like XLR mics to go in, but this analog audio. And there's many ranges of digital audio converters, some that are like, I think this is a common thing for audiophiles, people who love music, is you can buy like $1,000 version of this, and then it'll make sure it's the absolute best quality sound before you listen to it. And then this has you plug the analog audio in, and then out of this you use the USB-B into your computer's USB. So that this basically translates it from analog audio into digital audio for you.
Right. And
then from there, I have a app for Mac and Windows, which is awesome because usually it's one or the other. It's called Airfoil by Rogue Amoeba. And these guys make a bunch of awesome apps. But this app basically lets you take any input audio from your computer and then send it wirelessly out to any type of speaker or like smart TV or anything that you want at the same time. So it's basically like AirPlay, but it's not actually AirPlay or anything like that. So it's not just one type of speaker. It'll work with anything like that. And you can like set up whole scenes where it's like these two speakers are in this room, or when it automatically connects to this USB, send it to these speakers. And this is like an amazing, awesome, like I was like, oh, I can take my vinyl to my HomePod and go like, it seems so just like wild to have completely analog and then go completely all the way to like the wireless smart speaker of today.
Right.
But then I've had this for maybe 6 months or something like that. And I was like, I'm going to do this whole video. And it's like, there's this cool product you can buy. And then I went to like switch it back and move the cables around. And in the back of my record player, there is a USB-B port, which means I can go directly from the record player into the computer if I want without doing any of this at all. And I was like, oh, that's lovely and fantastic. Like, it's like, here's a video on how to get your vinyl to HomePod. It's like, plug in a cord in the back and then you're good to go. So this was this whole adventure that I went on. So to be fair, I can still use this for different purposes. Like one thing that's nice is the USB Phono Plus has like a volume knob on it. So I can adjust the volume levels physically instead of going into the computer, because I'm already fine. It's like somewhat annoying to have to launch Airfoil all the time this is another thing I'm trying to automate, where I can ask one of my assistants to run this program on my computer also. But basically, I've got then the other thing I can do is I have like a pair of, basically the headphones that I'm wearing for this podcast, I can plug in and listen to my vinyl on my headphones in a nice audio quality there. So without going into like a whole receiver system. But yeah, it was definitely like I had this like secret that I knew how to get my vinyl to HomePod, and then it was like, oh yeah, no, just plug it in. So it was like this whole elaborate thing. And then I'm pretty sure almost every single modern turntable has a USB-B port in the back.
Yeah, because they know that people want to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the products are built with the computer in it already. So as long as you use that port, you're good to go. And there's like an Amazon Basics cord for like $10. But if you want to go audiophile level, you can get digital audio converters is what they're called.
Gotcha. So that I think is maybe what we're talking about in the chat here, because Burke was saying if you're lucky, your record player in line level out is line level out. If it's not, like 95% of all record players, you have to convert phono level signal plus ground cable to line level. I don't know what any of that means.
So that was part of why I realized this even happened, was because the digital audio converter has line out and phono, and then on the record player there's also the option to switch between the two, and I was trying to figure out like what does this even mean at all, because I'm a noob in this area, I guess. I think phono was just like the old way that they used to do it, and it's less of like a steady signal. And now like I switched that. So this was a audio lesson is always unplug things before you switch the because I went from line out to phono while it was plugged in, and it like screeched through my HomePod in the house.
Wow.
Yeah, that was terrible. I apologize to my girlfriend for that because she was in the room. It was pretty bad. So that is not good. And it was like, I think line out works more reliably.
Yeah, now I'm reading about the difference between phono and line. And it looks like a phono signal is much weaker than a line signal.
Yeah.
And the lower tones are reduced in phono, but are not reduced in line. So yeah, line altogether is a better choice, is what it seems like, because
and
you get
that's what this tool is generally for, is for if you have an older record player that only has phono. This is called the USB Phono Plus tool. So then that's like designed mostly to do that. And that's why it is like ultimately unnecessary in my situation. But it is like you can like adjust the gain on the music there. So it's a similar, audio is a weird world where like even the microphones that we're using have like low power signals, and that's why you have to use something like an amplifier for it.
Well, let me just be super seriously real here. I have an Echo Studio, which stay tuned because eventually we're going to be doing a hands-on tech with that Echo Studio, and I can't tell the difference between the Ultra HD versions of songs and the non-Ultra HD versions of songs. And I have okay ears. I am still a youth for the most part. I think that still counts.
Why don't you tell us exactly how old you are?
I don't think I'm going to do that, no. In fact, it changes in 3 days. So,
Samuel L. Jackson broke my OPSEC earlier. So
dang it, Samuel! Because he said Berkeley.
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't care. It's in my bio.
Everybody knows you're from Berkeley. You can tell.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna, because I got on my record. I mean, that's the reason I got into vinyl, was because
you moved to Berkeley.
Because Amoeba, which is like Amoeba Records, is one of the best record stores. I mean, there's a huge one in LA.
Wow, listen to this Berkeley guy go on.
It's like,
on.
I mean, yeah, I live 2 blocks away from Telegraph Avenue, which is where like that's like Berkeley, classic Berkeley. So
and you're wearing that gray felted shirt. And
I have tie-dye on underneath. No.
You live in a very old home. It's all just screams Berkeley. How much was that thing Matt bought? How much was
the Phono Plus? Was $100. So $100. That is like, it's a little much for if you're not actually using for something like this. But if you have an older record player, it's a good solution. And there's other versions too. And I mean, I'm pretty sure there's $1,000 models of these if you really want to go audiophile level, like Mikah is not. But maybe I'll have to.
Oh, so you do have better ears than me. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure. Apparently, I'm interested in hearing that type of stuff, because doing like AirPods Pro and sometimes, I mean, listening on good headphones to vinyl with the gain turned up,
See,
like
but really, what
you
are
are
good
listening
headphones?
to. I mean, they have certain, like these ones have like certain ohm levels or something like that. So I don't actually know, but
Right. None
I'll
of
have
us
to
really
listen
know,
to-
do we? It's all
I know Federico Vitici has like a Walkman with like his FLAC audio files that are like super high quality. I think it's one of those things where I know I'm not rich enough to get into that, where it's like you could go into that, but then you're going to want $5,000 speakers.
See, but I don't think that I will, because I've listened to stuff on good stuff, and I know I'm just saying stuff, but I've listened to music on good music on good stuff, and it doesn't sound different enough to me to want it. So either I have broken ears.
If it was Beyonce, and like you got to listen to the right music. I feel like.
Now you got to listen to the right music. You got to have the right equipment.
Well, I mean, if
you can't have an upset stomach that day. Yeah, and by the way, so there's an Ask the Tech Guy. It's episode number 4 of Ask the Tech Guy, which is Leo Laporte's show where he answers questions of listeners. And it's Should I Care About High-Res Audio? I listened to that episode. That was one episode that I listened to all the way through. And in it, he eventually says something along the lines of like, but at the end of the day, there's sort of a toss-up over whether we actually can hear the difference or can't hear the difference. And some people can and some people can't. So it only really matters how. Look, if you want to spend $1 trillion on this and you really can tell the difference, I think that's awesome. I'm more sort of like, I think I'm a little bit jealous, but a little bit relieved that I don't really tell the difference between.
It's probably terrible if you like have the extremely attuned ear, and then people are like, here's my like Echo Dot, and you're like, oh God, it's terrible.
God, yeah, I would be. Now I will say this is I was at my house and I have like a little tiny Google Nest Hub thingy, Google Pod. I don't remember what it's called.
It's the Home Mini before, at least.
And next to it was the HomePod, and the HomePod is called. I just have it called Kitchen because it's in the kitchen, because it's just a big room that's kitchen, dining, living. And the Google device was also called Kitchen. And my guest went to play music on Kitchen thinking it was the HomePod, but played it on the Google speaker. And I remember in that moment, I was thinking, why does that sound so hollow and terrible? The HomePod shouldn't sound like that. And in my head, I was going, oh, it's probably that he had downloaded a less high quality version of the song, or he was like doing the streaming in Spotify. You can choose like which version you download, and I always go with the highest if I'm connected to Wi-Fi, et cetera, et cetera. So I can tell the difference between, is it coming out of some very inexpensive like greeting card speaker, it's just like a piezo transducer, or is it coming out of an actual set of speakers? But when it comes to me listening to Girl Talk's FLAC versions on high quality speakers, or Amazon Music, I've got the free trial of Amazon's HD library versus listening on Spotify and their non-HD library. I can't really hear the difference on those unless I lie to myself and just go, oh yeah, this sounds so much better.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway.
Just like it was pretty funny when I was listening to, I think it was like the Bon Iver album or something, and then it went in between tracks and it was like crackling in my ears, and I was just like, I don't know, I thought about that part. Just, it is kind of funny. It's an interesting, I mean, I like listening to records that way because you do kind of have like a complete experience where you're listening to the whole thing, because I have a tendency to jump around a bunch. And I totally noticed that like when I flipped over the record the first time, I was like, went and reheated my coffee. And then like the second time when it was done, I was like, I had just stood up to like stretch. And so it was kind of like a perfect little working session. So I might try it some more.
That's kind of nice.
So my pick of the week in relation to that is Airfoil, because it is a $30 app for Mac and Windows. So I definitely recommend people pick that up. And also Rogue Amoeba makes like great apps.
Fantastic apps.
Audio Hijack is one that like almost every single podcaster I know uses, that lets them record their side of their audio and like make sure it's all routed to the same spot and stuff like that.
I use it at home for my Wednesday Clockwise show and for the Dungeons and Dragons podcast I do as well.
Nice.
Very helpful.
Where is that?
That's over on Jason Snell's The Incomparable Network.
Nice.
It's called Total Party Kill. So I was just going to say that little doodly bop, that project is also a lesson in make sure you check, and I'm not laughing at Matthew, and no one should laugh at Matthew. We've all had
I'm
this
laughing
situation.
at myself. It was pretty funny.
We'll let him laugh at him. But yeah, check out to make sure that you are not doing the hardest thing possible if there are easier solutions like there were in this case. And then maybe you can save yourself a little money that you'll then spend on another project that you make harder than it has to be.
Exactly.
But in the meantime, you learned a lot of stuff and you have those other devices available should you need them. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. Like I will be using the Phono Plus thing for listening on headphones. I think actually is going to be nice. And I'd never done that with my vinyl before either. So wireless or wired or just traditional.
My pick of the week is for those of you out there with Echo devices. If you live in the United States, you can use Apple Podcasts with Alexa. So Apple says you need an Amazon Fire TV or Amazon Echo speaker and the iOS or Android device you used for setup with the Alexa app installed. So once you do that, then you go into the Amazon Alexa app, you tap the menu button in the upper left corner, you tap skills and games and search for the Apple Podcasts skill. Then you can enable that skill and you're able to then use Apple Podcasts. Now, to keep it so that you can just say, if you just set up the skill, you say, hey, boo-boo, play Smart Tech Today on Apple Podcasts. That's the normal way. But you can make it so that you can just say, hey, boo-boo, play Smart Tech Today, and it will play it from Apple Podcasts. And the way that you do that is you open up the Alexa app, you go in the upper left corner, tap the menu button, tap Settings, tap Music and Podcasts. Under Services, tap Link New Service. Then you sign in with your Apple ID, and that will link your Apple Podcasts account. Once you're signed in, you can just tap the X to close out of that, and then tap Select Default Service and choose Apple Podcasts. Then from that point on, you can just say, hey, boo-boo, play iOS today. Hey, boo-boo, play whatever. And it will automatically make it so that Apple Podcasts is your default podcast serving platform.
Should we try it?
Oh
live?
boy, let's see if it works.
Play Smart Tech Today.
Getting up first from Apple Podcasts. Playing the latest episode. Monday, December 16th, 2019.
Can you bring it closer?
That is not it. That was playing something else. It was playing my Up Next.
Oh.
I might not. I use Overcast, so I might not be subscribed in Apple Podcasts. I should go do that right now.
Oh, I see. So, well, that's kind of cool too then. It links to your Apple Podcasts account specifically and will play the stuff that you have in there. So it's not just, pulling from the library. That's kind of cool. That it's a little bit more tied in.
The whatever's in your listen now queue, which is cool. Nice.
So yeah, I think that's a pretty
good.
cool pick.
And it's kind of, it is interesting. Like, I think it was December of last year where they added Apple Music to Echo devices. Oh, you know what I just remembered? That's another thing that I just figured out was that I didn't have my Sonos set as the default speaker, and I have an Echo Dot, and I was listening to music through the Echo Dot that was 6 inches away from a Sonos speaker for since I got it at Thanksgiving. And then I was like, oh, wait a second, default speaker. And then now whenever I ask the Echo Dot, it plays on the Sonos next to it. So
nice.
I wonder, would this work through that? That's what I was noticing was they were saying this works on Amazon Echo speakers or Fire TVs, but does that mean Alexa enabled speakers, or is that's one of the sometimes the this works on this device but not the other one is kind of frustrating. So
yes, I agree.
Maybe we'll have to do some more testing there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not fond of this sort of works, but it doesn't have these features. Yeah, that can be an issue.
I think even the I have a scene that's like TV time, and I was like, oh, I might as well just ask the Apple TV because I almost never use the Siri thing on the remote. And it was like, I can't do that. And I was like, why can you not do that? That's very silly. Or like you can ask your iPhone to play something on your Apple TV, but if you ask your HomePod, it won't work. And it's like, great. Makes no sense at all. Smart tech foibles. It happens.
The struggles of the smart tech world. But, we do our best. And I think we have done a great job today, frankly.
Yeah.
If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, feedback, poems, limericks, especially limericks, love limericks, or haikus. It's a little lazy though, so
yeah,
prefer limerick to a haiku.
Yeah,
you can
thanks.
email us, stt@twit.tv, and that is where those all can go. You can, of course, tune in live to check out the show. We record the show live every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, which is 4 p.m. Pacific. That's 2300 UTC. You just head to twit.tv/live, and that'll have links to all the different places that we stream live. Or you can join us directly on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/twit. It's a little confusing there, but I have faith that you can find it because you all are incredible and beautiful and wonderful and smart. Like smart
That's
tech
what
today.
I used that as a vocal warm-up before. Twitch.tv/twit. Oh, God, I can't even do it now.
Say that 5 times
You
fast.
know you need unique New York.
Unique New York. Matthew Cassinelli, if people want to follow you on Twitter, if they want to check out your content, how can they do so?
You can see Samuel L. Jackson swearing on my Twitter account at Matt Cassinelli, and then my Hue Button video is still in progress, but that is coming soon on YouTube, along with What's on My iPad. Ooh,
what's on Matthew Cassinelli's iPad? We know it's a lot of shortcuts.
Yeah, exactly.
You can follow me on pretty much all of the social networks at Mikah Sargent. That includes Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat. I think that's also my TikTok name. It's all out there. It's all at Mikah Sargent. Follow me on TikTok for some reason. I don't TikTok. So, yeah, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee, and that has links to the different places I exist online. Please don't forget to subscribe to the show. If you're listening to us on your devices and you have not yet subscribed to the show, doing so helps us out and will tell all of those awesome sponsors out there that this is a show that is doing it to it. So you just head to twit.tv/STT, and there are links to all the different ways to subscribe to audio. And that's going to do it for us this week. Matthew, and all of you out there, it's time to say goodnight to all your smart assistants.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Samuel L. Jackson.